Welcome to TarantulasDreamTV. You are watching a previously recorded broadcast. Tune in every Monday and Wednesday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Instagram at TarantulasDreamTV for new episodes. And remember, it is a weird, weird world.
And I didn't go to university, I left school at 18, but suddenly I found out that if you do these things that you're told by Aleister Crowley, by Wilson, by all these people we read and all these people we've been consuming, but we don't do it, if you actually do what they say, things happen. Things occur exactly as it's described, and we can all do it. So I decided to put this to use in the comic book that I was doing, this thing called The Invisibles. And the idea was to kind of get all this down on paper and somehow look at it, not to accept it as reality, to accept it as purely this is part of human experience. It's a part of human experience that has been described to us for thousands and thousands of years, but for the last 200 has been hidden and made occult.
It is intended for the entertainment and instruction of broad-minded adults only, and should not be played to or sold to minors under any circumstances whatsoever. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the floating pie pan in the sky at Groom Lake Analog Recordings. Welcome to TarantulasDreamTV. Now here's your host, Samba.
Hello everybody, welcome to another broadcast of Tarantulas Dream TV. I am your host,
Samba.
Here we are, the beginning of a new week, the beginning of a new set of broadcasts. This week we'll be diving into the occult and modern practitioners of the occult, modern, I guess you could say witches, magicians, something of the like that. I'm not quite sure. We're going to get into that tonight with one of our guests of the week. So sit tight and let's get into it. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820 at 9:30, opening up the phone lines for everyone else. So please hold all your questions, your comments till around 9:30 for open lines. Again, this is Tarantulas Dream TV. I am your host,
Samba.
Hell yeah. Let's get into it. Now, before I read some headlines for y'all, I just want to remind everybody that following the show, well, about an hour after the show gets off the air, my very first broadcast of Tarantulas Dream Radio will be broadcasting over on 99.1 FM Downtown Radio. So if you have any interest in my show at all, if you want to hear more of the music side of the program, please tune in from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. over on 99.1 FM Downtown Radio. You can listen online or through the Downtown Radio app if you don't quite get the station. If the station doesn't quite get to you, whether you live in Tucson or beyond, Downtown Radio is just a few clicks away. Anyways, let's get... That was a pretty good little intro, wasn't it? Let's get to some headlines. Now, this first one, there was no way I could avoid it, but we got to talk about it. Long concealed records show Trump's chronic losses and years of tax avoidance. This is from the NewYorkTimes.com. Donald J. Trump paid $750 in federal income taxes the year he won the presidency. In his first year in the White House, he paid another $750. He had paid no income taxes at all in 10 of the previous 15 years, largely because he reported losing much more money than he made. As the president wages a re-election campaign that polls say he is in danger of losing. His finances are under stress, beset by losses and hundreds of millions of dollars in debt coming due that he has personally guaranteed. Also hanging over him is a decade-long audit battle with the Internal Revenue Service over the legitimacy of a $72.9 million tax refund that he claimed and received after declaring huge losses. An adverse ruling could cost him more than $100 million. The tax returns that Mr. Trump has long fought to keep private to tell a story fundamentally different from the one he has sold to the American public. His reports to the IRS portray a businessman who takes in hundreds of millions of dollars a year, yet racks up chronic losses that he aggressively employs to avoid paying taxes. Now, with his financial challenges mounting, the records show that he depends more and more on making money from businesses that put him in potential and often direct conflict with interest with his job as president. So yes, definitely a bombshell, definitely a big report coming from the New York Times in regards to President Trump's tax filings, tax records. Now, he's been fighting to keep these records under wraps for quite a while now. And the New York Times doesn't reveal where they received this information. They want to keep it secret to, I guess, avoid kind of outing their sources for this information. So unfortunately, at least as of now, that won't be revealed. But I guess a lot of this comes down to whether or not you trust the New York Times. For the most part, I personally do. So this is big news, I believe. I mean, I don't really know how else you can spin it. Well, I do know how else you can spin it because I did take a trip over to the conservative subreddit. I do that every now and then to kind of see what they're saying over there on the conservative subreddit. And for the most part, when this kind of broke the other day, people were trying to explain it away as, well, we just don't, us plebes just don't really understand how taxes work when you start to hit the upper echelon of income makers, of people who make this kind of money. And essentially, you know, he didn't not pay taxes. He just also received large refunds. And so therefore, the money he paid, he kind of got back, so that makes it okay. I don't know. I don't, you know, not being a tax lawyer or anyone who's sort of I guess you could say aficionado, an expert on tax law, it still seems quite shady and not becoming of the President of the United States to be so entrenched that essentially they can kind of just get away with not really paying taxes. That doesn't seem right. So at any rate, I'm sure this is going to play into tomorrow. I believe tomorrow's debate is in tomorrow. I believe tomorrow's the first debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So we'll see how this goes. But literally within 5 minutes of this report, Biden had already put out an ad, political ad, pretty much kind of highlighting how most working Americans pay much more than $750 in taxes per year. So, you know, it's going to get even uglier. So I'm excited to tune into this debate. Next headlines coming from independent.co.uk. Multiple water bodies found under surface of Mars. Several liquid bodies have been found under the south pole of Mars, according to a major new study. The findings give extra credence to previous research that suggested there could be a larger saltwater lake underneath the Martian surface, the researchers claim, and also led them to discovering a number of other wet areas. The findings could be key in the search for alien life on the planet, the researchers note, given life as we know it requires liquid water to survive. They will also be key to planetary protection work that ensures that humanity doesn't contaminate other planets with life from Earth during missions to explore them. So, more big news coming from space. Apparently there is now multiple water bodies found on under the surface of Mars. Not that long ago, there was that kind of fairly big news, I would say, but it didn't seem to get much traction, that on Venus they had found, what was it? It was just like phosphine. That was it. They found phosphine, this molecule that is generally only associated with living organisms, a byproduct of living organisms, or like a chemical kind of byproduct. But essentially, it's either created by a machine or by a living creature. So they found that on Venus. So there's been some pretty big news this year about kind of different substances, water and this phosphine in space. And who knows what what we're gearing up to learn come these last couple months of the year. Who knows? Maybe alien life? I don't know. Not saying it's not possible, but off-world vehicles and now water bodies under the surface of Mars and phosphine on Venus. Oh boy, the universe is just teeming with life. But anyways, that was headlines for the night. So let's get into the meat of the night. So before I get my guests on the line, I just wanted to say that these next two shows are going to be probably some of the most unscripted of the Tarantula's Dream TV episodes. Normally, I don't necessarily write a script. I just usually have an outline with kind of the night's comings and goings that kind of keep me on track and kind of keep the show rolling on nice and smooth and organized. But tonight I don't have that. I opted not to do that tonight because I wanted to have a genuine conversation with just kind of normal, I won't say normal, just people. I just wanted to have a conversation with people on the air who I would describe, or maybe potentially they would describe themselves as practitioners of the occult in some way, either in the past or in the present. So I want to bring my guest on the line. Their name is Dale. Dale, are you still there on the phone?
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, how you doing tonight, sir?
It's going all right, Samba. How are you today or tonight?
I'm doing just fine. You know, I had to work today at my plebe job, and now I'm on the air doing what I like to do, talking to people, kind of engaging with the audience and my guests. So I'm happy to have you on the phone. Glad to do this interview. Now, before we get in too deep into the interview, I want to ask you some basic questions. This first one is pretty much if you could just give me a little background on yourself, Dale. Kind of maybe when you first got into, I guess, on a base level, what you could call the occult practices, or maybe just what like piqued your interest with these kind of things. Like just kind of give the listeners a little background.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. As far as background goes, I would definitely say that it began with childhood, living in what could best be described as a mildly haunted house.
Wow. A mildly haunted house. Now, do you want to elaborate on that at all, or does it bring up any I guess, for lack of a better word, haunted memories?
Sure. Yeah. I guess it's even before I moved into this place, I had a dream about it. I had never visited it, and it was, I think, maybe a night or two before we moved in. I had a dream that I was going up through the front door of my place I'd never been before, going up the stairs and going into a room and seeing the closet door open, and then some, I guess, guy wearing a paper bag over his head that looked like he was crawled out of the swamp or something. And like he walked out of the closet and then just kind of started walking towards me, and then I woke up.
Wow.
A couple of days later, we moved in, and yeah, it looked exactly like my dream.
Dang. Okay. And I mean that does sound like quite the dream, almost nightmarish, if you will. But so that experience though kind of brought you closer to wanting to kind of learn about the occult.
Yep, I would say my experiences in that house definitely piqued my curiosity, I guess would be the best way to put it, because then, you know, you want to explain what you just went through over the last, like, couple of years. And so then that inevitably takes you down a fun little road.
Sure. So did you grow up in any kind of religious household? Did any of your family members, your parents, anyone like that, did they raise you with any kind of religion growing up?
Yes. They tried very hard to make me Catholic, and to no avail in the long run. And
why did you kind of reject that upbringing?
Just never really had an affinity with it. It was kind of weird. Almost like I would say a little animosity even.
Interesting. Animosity. Now, did you feel like your parents were kind of forcing this Catholicism on you? I mean, animosity is. I understand. Like me personally, I grew up in a Christian household, more or less. My father was raised Catholic, and my mother was a Christian, but they kind of met in the middle somewhere. And they definitely raised me in a Christian household. They sent me to admittedly a private school, pretty much my entire entire formative years. So I had a lot of religion around me, whether it was in the household or at school. So my feelings on religion now are quite mixed. I don't identify as Christian at all. I don't identify really as any kind of religion at all. But I do see sort of the benefit potentially of religion in people's lives. But it sounds like you, but I don't have really necessarily any animosity towards Christianity necessarily, at least in my personal background. I have definitely problems with it being used as a tool for oppression, but not really in my life. But you said you have like an animosity towards that, and I was curious why you feel like you have that animosity.
It felt very, very natural, like it was just something that was already there. If one believes in reincarnation, it might have kind of rode in with me, I guess, if you will.
Okay. All right. I'll accept that. So let's get into now sort of the area of your life where you started getting into actually researching, or kind of looking into the occult. When did you first start really doing the serious work of kind of investigating, whatever level of the occult you want to kind of get into? When did that start?
I would say shortly after. I would be like early teens, like 12, 13, 14, going to the library. I lived on a military installation, and you would be amazed what you would find in the base library. They actually had a pretty formidable occult library. One book in particular that kind of got me started on the path, if you will, was called the Dictionary Inferno, or the Infernal Dictionary. Mm-hmm. And it's basically a fairly hardcore demonology book to get your hands on.
Wow. Okay. That is, that is very surprising to hear that was a book found in what you said, like a library on a military base. Now, where did they get on a military base? Where did they get these books? Are they donated, or how would one acquire such a book and then be kind of filed in a military or Air Force based library?
Well, it usually goes into like if you were to go in this section with like your cryptids, your UFOs, it would be lumped into whatever you would call that amorphous category. Mm-hmm. Okay. Where they got it, I would say probably donations. It's pretty strange, but there's actually, I don't want to get too conspiracy theory with it, but oh
no, go right ahead. On the show we dive into the conspiracy theories, so go as far down the rabbit hole as you want.
Fair enough. I'm sure you are well aware of the Freemasons and all that. There definitely is a large, at least then, I don't know about now, can't speak for it now, but definitely a large secret society underbelly in the U.S. military, from what I've seen. But very much in the closet, not spoken of, but there's definitely a reputation there if you look and you're kind of in the know.
Okay, actually, that's actually that's an interesting point, and actually, I want to prod you on that a little bit more. So you just said that there is sort of a, and maybe this isn't super crazy of an idea or super very outlandish, but you just said that there's sort of a secret, sort of mysterious occult sort of underbelly within the military. Is that what you just said?
It seems like there is. I don't know how widespread it would be, but there's definitely. I lived on a few military installations. Was quite the library goer, and every base I ever lived on had a fair size assortment of pretty one would say even obscure occult books. Especially in the realms of demonology in particular, a lot of dark stuff.
Wow, that's very interesting. I mean, I guess I never really would have, when you think of military bases and kind of base life, I guess it would make sense that there are some kind of on-base library and sort of a place like any other place in the public where you'd be able to check out books, and especially if you lived on the base. So it's not really surprising there's a library and that it would have sort of I know if you go to like a Barnes and Noble or I guess even like a Bookman's or something, which is for those on the air who aren't from Tucson or Arizona, it's a sort of a local, it's kind of like a thrift store, but they sell books, music, CDs, kind of the whole thing. So if you're in town, check out Bookman's. But they also have sort of a section that they kind of label as, I want to say, like paranormal. I know at a lot of bookstores it is kind of the paranormal section. They kind of divide that up into, Wicca, witchcraft, maybe even conspiracy. I'm not 100% sure. So it's not surprising that they have that at a military base, but it is surprising to hear that sort of your kind of belief that potentially there's sort of this underground rumbling of an occult sensibilities going around in the military. Yeah, I find that very fascinating. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's not get too sidetracked with the conspiracies over here. So when did your parents ever find out about you kind of diving into the occult or like demonology or anything like that?
I did my damnedest to try to keep that hush hush, but yeah, that definitely, you can sniff that out in a person if you have any sort of attunement for it. So yeah, they definitely figured out I was up to some sort of no good, but I think I did a fair job for the most part, kind of keeping it under wraps as good as you could, living, sharing a house with people.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and what was their reaction when they started finding out about this, especially since they were trying to raise you as Catholic? I mean, it seems like this could be kind of a lot of inner familial turmoil with, finding out their kid is kind of going the complete opposite way than what they were intending.
Oh, especially, I definitely got the phone call from the very Catholic Nana.
Oh, yeah.
which definitely, there's a few lectures handed down, warnings, and I would say, warnings that were definitely not unfounded. They would be the same type of warnings I would give anyone who were dabbling, as they say, in the dark arts or the occult.
Okay. Yeah. No.
A buyer beware sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, I totally understand that. And I mean, it doesn't surprise me. And, I mean, what was your reaction to having your family kind of grilling you over this stuff? I mean, at this point you're in your teen years. I mean, you're already kind of filled with some natural teenage angst, probably coming through real hard. And so now you got your parents kind of, dropping the hammer on you a little bit, and most kids kind of, when they get the hammer dropped on them, it's over some bad grades and maybe sneaking out to parties and whatnot, but they're dropping the hammer on you because you're looking into demons. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, definitely. You're looked at with skepticism on top of everything else. Like, what's in your head, kid?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, parents know best. So, if their kid's kind of getting into the, as you call it, the dark arts, maybe they think it's some kind of phase or whatnot. But here we are. I'm not going to ask you for your age now, but you're much older than your teenage years. And are you still, would you say that you're still dabbling in some way, in some small way or large way?
Very much so, but I would say the flavor or the spectrum has definitely changed. Like, most people kind of get started with, I think like your classic witchcraft or your like entry into like Wiccanism. The lighter stuff. I hope most people don't get directly into, studying demonology or Satanism. I think most people really get into Crawley and they kind of stop there. It's like the big revelation for most people, but they never really progress. And I definitely moved past that, going from the dark to the gray to the light, if you will. And, I guess what one would refer to as, I think it's called theurgy, which is where you deal more with deities, which is equally dangerous, but, little different flavor.
Yeah, sure, for sure. So we're coming about to the break here. It's about 9:25. So what I want to do is I want to just look at these comments real quick because we just got a little handful of them. And then what I'm going to do is put you on hold and play the song of the night, and then we'll get back into the interview and kind of just keep this in the forefront of your mind. I guess I'll start asking you a little bit more about your modern day life, what you're kind of up to these days, how the occult kind of plays into your daily comings and goings, and we'll go from there. So let me check out these comments real quick. Celia, hello there. Celia, Eggs and Eyes, what number episode is this? Thank you very much, Eggs and Eyes, for bringing that up. I believe it's episode number 30. When I love things in threes, even though technically 30, I mean, it's 30, it's not 3, but the 3's in there. I like doing things in threes, and 30 is a multiple of 3, so I'll count it. So yeah, episode number 30. Thank you very much for asking, Eggs and Eyes. And Jazzy Boho, oh no, Mr. T. So Dale, on the earlier on the air, I had read the headline from the New York Times about Donald Trump kind of skirting some paying taxes pretty much, and only really contributing $750 for 2 years of paying taxes. I'm sure you've probably heard the headlines by now, but I read it on the air, and it looks like Jazzy Boho over here is crying sad tears for Mr. T, sarcastically, I assume. I'm assuming you're not really sad, Jazzy Boho. So now, before I go to the break, actually, Dale, let me ask you, what do you think of all these kind of Donald Trump in his taxes headlines? What do you think this is going to do to him for now that we're kind of getting into the kind of the end game here? We're coming up very quickly to November 3rd.
If I'm being absolutely honest, I don't think it's going to affect him in any way, shape, or form. I think the battle lines are drawn, and if you're on his team, you're on his team. You're in it for good with this guy. It seems like they made that deal. They're wearing the sign of the beast now if you're on that team, I guess. But yeah, I don't think it changes anything, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, these kind of headlines might sway some of the swing voters who are still a little undecided between giving their old vote to old Donnie T over here or going with Biden. So maybe it'll help those voters out. Yeah, I don't think there's much that can be done for the diehard Trumpos. So unfortunately, yeah, I don't think it'll do much for them. But anyway, so it's 9:28. Let's go to the break. Our song of the night. So I will see you in a few minutes. All right, Dale?
Sounds good, sir.
All right, so that's Dale. That's our guest for the night, Dale, a good friend. I had worked with him in the past and was always very interested in his kind of his occult lifestyle and kind of his occult upbringing and what kind of his day-to-day life is when it comes to these kind of things. So we're going to get into it after the break. So the song of the night tonight is by the band Prism from Oakland, California. The song is Wrong Side from their 2019 self-titled demo. I will be back in a few minutes at 9:30. It'll be open lines, so please get your questions, your comments, your calls ready. Phone number is 520-704-7820, and I will see you after the break. Please enjoy Prism. you go. We're back here on Tarantula's Dream TV. I am your host, Samba, and you just heard the band Prism from Oakland, California. That was their song Wrong Side from their 2019 self-titled demo. Now, if you want to find them over on the old band camps and throw some diffused light bones, because it's a prism, get it? Anyway, you can find them at prismpunk.bandcamp.com. So throw some money their way. I just discovered them the other week, and I like their little 2019 self-titled demo. And if you like that song, please tune in to Tarantula's Dream Radio tonight from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., where you'll be hearing more songs like that. Definitely songs skew more just some straight punk over there. I've got some more modern stuff, some new stuff. I have what you would call sort of the battle between the chain punks and the egg punks. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that debate, that classic debate of chain versus egg. So you be the judge. What you want to hear, let me know. But please tune in tonight from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. over on 99.1 FM Downtown Radio, or download the app to your iOS or Android devices, or check out the website at downtownradio.org to listen online. I'm sorry if it's starting to sound kind of like a commercial. I'm just very excited for this new project, so I'm hoping that people check it out, and maybe it kind of draws some people to the live show, because I also like to engage with people. So I'm hoping that people will show up to the live stream to maybe call in or join the chat over here, because I love when you also give me questions and comments and whatnot. So let me get Dale back on the line. And Dale, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still here.
There we go. So we got Dale back on the line. We are going to get back into this little interview over here, but let me look at the comments real quick, because it looks like we do have a few more. Little Bloodweiser, I joined a little late, so if somebody already said this, I'm sorry. Dale, Pitbull voice, or Dale, if you will. I almost made that, honestly, little Bloodweiser, I almost made that joke right before I got Dale on the air in the first half of the show. I almost made the Dale joke. Are you a fan of Pitbull, Dale?
I wouldn't say a fan, but I've definitely heard of him.
So
I'm
you're
not a hater.
But you do know about his thing, his Dale. You know about that?
No, I don't actually.
Oh, well, there you go. Dale. Well, look it up. It's Pitbull. It's kind of his one of his trademarks. Mr. Worldwide, he likes to say Dale. So anyway, and it's spelled exactly like Dale. So that's why I almost made that joke. Dale. Whoa, look at that. Weird. Someone on the chat named Dale Maleficus or Maleficus. I'm not sure how you pronounce. How do you pronounce that, Dale? Maleficus. There you go. I just, I was putting I was putting everything in the wrong order over there. And Nicolas Cage fight. Dale. There you go. Another Pitbull fan over there. Anyways, you're listening to Tarantula's Dream TV. I am Samba, and on the phone is Dale. So last we left off, you were kind of you kind of gave some cautionary advice there for people who are sort of potentially getting into occult practices or kind of researching. You said that you sort of prefer people to kind of get into some more of the kind of what you would see as more of the basics, more like the Crowleyan kind of stuff, maybe Thelema and that kind of stuff. But you said that you actually didn't really prefer when people got into more of the demon research or demonology and stuff like that. And I'm curious as to why you feel like that.
I definitely feel like there's some aspect of it that kind of grounds you in that school. A lot of people, especially with Crowley, like, man, they get into it and then that's it. That's all they do. And they never really look anywhere else. Demonology, that can definitely be very consuming, almost literally for some people. Same with like Satanism. All things, if you're having a look, feel free to have a look. But as far as becoming a practitioner, I would caution to learn your basics. Learn how to do that magic circle and that banishing ritual, because if you don't, you're going to have a real fun time.
So having said that, do you have any sort of any experiences with that? It sounds like maybe you know a little bit more than you're letting on when it comes to maybe needing to, I guess you could say, banish away bad energy, bad spirits or something. Or do you have anything you'd like to share with the audience in regards to maybe some past experiences that didn't quite go as you had planned?
I was always careful not to do things in my own house. that's definitely, I think, the common mistake. Where, someone's house that care about, find a good place, probably out in nature if you can, or just a special area that's not where you sleep, because even with the vanishing ritual, you might have someone come visit you at night. I definitely had a few creepy experiences with that, and once you open that door, you better close it, and even if you do, it never really closes all the way.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard that quite a number of times when it comes to different sort of ceremonial practices and whatnot, that if you're going to invite a spirit or an entity or I guess you could even say a demon, especially when it comes to kind of, people kind of scoff and laugh at people who use Ouija boards or Ouija boards. I'm not sure how necessarily you're supposed to pronounce it, but use these tools to communicate. Some people see it as just sort of a game, and other people take it very seriously, but that once you kind of invite that sort of entity, spirit, whatever you want to call it, into the room, into your sort of sphere, that if you don't then ask it to leave, or you don't kind of finish the transaction, if you will, you're potentially opening yourself up to some reprisals, if you will. Do you agree with that, or do you have do you have a different take on I guess that sort of ideology?
I would call the Ouija board the gateway drug of the occult, or for straight summoning or invocation, conjuring, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And Aleister Crowley, yet again, when he would use the Ouija board, he would do the magic circle and then the banishing ritual afterwards. And then also there's a thing called the triangle of the art, which is, you have a triangle three-sided, so you have three names of God on each side. And that's basically where you would start, and you would put your Ouija board inside this triangle of the art, and you would be sitting within the circle that also has names of God around it. And so that contains it for not just having, a blank check in your house. Mm-hmm. And then when you banish it, it should pretty much close that door. But I guess the big consequence with any sort of, even just reading, for some people, it doesn't seem to be, universal, but some people can just read a book on darker stuff, and then it just opens them up. Kind of strange that way.
Yeah, I think I kind of fall into that camp of kind of having sort of, and a lot of times I chalk up my own sort of kind of reticence to dive deeper into actual occult practices or research, is because I feel like, and I've talked with this to different people, more or less in regards to the idea of kind of manifestation, of sort of I guess you could say invoking your will, your ideas, and manifesting that into reality. I do have sort of a fear of even kind of letting these things stew in my brain, that in and of itself is sort of can be an invitation to outside external forces to then take that as, like I said, an invitation to then enter my life in some way. So I do tend to do any kind of occult research sort of at an arm's length away, a distance of maybe 2 arms away. So yeah, I definitely have sort of that kind of, I'm more on that train where even potentially reading stuff kind of puts me in a certain headspace where I get a tinge of fear. Now I sometimes chalk that up to the fact that I did grow up in a spiritual Christian household, and sort of this kind of idea that even researching it is essentially potentially blasphemous in some way. And it's not that I really have any fear of God or anything like that. It's not that at all. But I think it is sort of that background kind of still lives with me. So sometimes I chalk it up to that, but other times I don't know. Sometimes I feel like potentially I might have more power in myself and in my mind that I think I do, and I really don't want to manifest something that I don't want. I don't know. What do you think of that kind of feeling? I don't know. I don't want to just like discount these feelings as just sort of like paranoia from growing up in a spiritual Christian household, but again, I don't really want to invite anything into my life by just reading something,
I think it's a legitimate thing. That was the warning that I got from my grandmother, was that, if you're looking at it, sometimes that's all it takes, is just to look at it, and you're inviting the unreal into your reality. So, yeah, I think it's a legitimate fear, and then heaven forbid someone just dive right in,
Yeah.
I've known plenty of people who played with the Ouija board, and then now they're seeing shadow figures in their house, and seem like they have bad luck all of a sudden, which kind of comes with the territory with some of those things that like to pop through there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess when you start to dabble into these sort of the occult, which when you start dabbling in these kind of things that it's hidden. Occult it's hidden. It's not something that is just common knowledge. It's things that you have to seek out. So once you start seeking it out, you potentially might be inadvertently going a little deeper than you had potentially planned on doing. So I want to kind of get into some of more of your day-to-day kind of existence with the occult. I mean, what sort of your day-to-day kind of practices you do, if there are day-to-day practices, or you had said earlier on that you had kind of transitioned away, or that your thoughts on the occult and practice and in being a practitioner had kind of changed over the years, and I was curious as what that looks like now.
In my youth, like I said earlier, I definitely had more of the darker aspect, but I would say now I've definitely found a balance as I got older, where you kind of do a little bit of both. Hermeticism, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but basically the Egyptian religion kind of reborn. It seems more like other people who practice it, it's like, oh, you're practicing Wiccanism, but using Egyptian gods. But I definitely blended it a little bit with more of like a voodoo aspect, because that's where I kind of got my start. Because I lived in Louisiana for a long time, and so, well, voodoo is an African religion, and Hermeticism, originally the ancient Egyptian religion, obviously is African. So it kind of blended nicely together.
Sure. Okay, and this is something that I mean, it's obviously very important to you. So this is something that I imagine, unless something drastic changes, it sounds like this will be something that you kind of go with, or at least maybe practice, and maybe even kind of mold even deeper to fit your life as you get older, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely. I've stuck with it for quite some time, and it's definitely not going away. It's definitely a part of my life. I had some really interesting experiences with it. I tried invocations, and that was one of the things that I was always very leery of, because that definitely it's a deal breaker. That's not stepping your toe into the water. That's getting on a diving board and diving in, really.
Yeah.
And so I had this interesting experience where, did this invocation ritual, did the magic circle, and I remember calling the goddess Isis in a ritual, and it had some very real manifestations. I remember feeling kind of strange, like kind of floaty or whatever, and then kind of this weird golden light kind of coming out of nowhere. And it felt like something someone was being poured into me, like I was a cup and they were the water. And I had this experience that so hard to describe, but I guess the best way to put it is, it was like I could literally see eyes looking at me, but as if from the inside. It's really hard to wrap your mind around it unless you go through it. And it was been a really dark time of my life, and after that, things turned around. It was all it was cracked up to be, if you will. And after that, it was just no turning back. That's kind of the path I took. And before that, I would say pretty much just darkness was as the occult goes.
Interesting. So after that one invocation, everything kind of turned around. And I mean, I guess if you want to get in a little deeper than that, I mean, have you since then done any other sort of invocations? Have you done the same ritual again? Does it only take one time and suddenly this is sort of now it sticks with you for the rest of your life? Like, how does this work?
It seems to be. I mean, just like when you mess with the darker stuff, it's on. Like you get that ink on you, and it stains you forever. So I've definitely walked down that road a little more. I've had some insane experiences. I'm not sure how far we'd go with that, but I guess I had this. I'll go ahead and get into it, I guess.
Oh yeah, we've got about let me just check the counter. I got about 10, a little less than 10 minutes. So if you want to keep the maybe not the short version, but kind of right in the middle of the short and the full version, but definitely get into it. I want to hear this.
This was the definite deal breaker, the mind breaker, if you will. I had dabbled in. You probably talked about this substance, or I know you definitely have heard of it. A substance called DMT.
Oh yeah. I've definitely heard of DMT. I have not had the I guess I don't know if you can say the fortunate experience, but I haven't had the experience of being able to try DMT. But I've definitely read a lot about it and heard a lot about it. So yeah. Anyway, continue.
I did that for the very first time. In my trip, I saw the goddess Hathor, and she called herself that. And it was like someone opened a window in reality. Like, it's hard to describe, but like imagine a window screen open, or like a window open in reality. You can see behind it or inside of it. And then if you look behind it, you could see the real world. But she popped her head out and said, "Hey, you're about to start tripping, and I will see you soon." And then, sure enough, the lights went out, and it was go time. And I talked to this goddess. She introduced me to her master, as she called it. I didn't really understand what is the master of a goddess. That's very odd.
Yeah.
And then the trip transitioned, and I'm in a white room, which other occultists and like-minded people or trippers have also described. And I saw a giant cobra. I would say about 12 feet tall in relation to my own body. It's like you're somewhere else. And like it feels very real. It starts talking to me and gives me all this strange information that I later validated, things I didn't know about the Egyptian religion that when I actually did some research ended up being true without having prior knowledge. So there's that aspect of it. But I just remember at the end of that trip, she commented, this giant snake, she called herself Wadjet, which turned out to be a extremely old African/Egyptian goddess. She's the one on the pharaoh's crown, the protector of the pharaoh, so on and so forth. And she, tells me to come over here, look through this window, this portal. And so, in the white surroundings, there's like a little open window or circular portal. I look out of it, and I see myself, probably about 12 years old, reading comics on the hardwood floor back in I'm looking at myself back when I was like 12 years old, playing hooky from school. I remembered that moment because I had a very strange experience, however many years in the past that was. I was reading my comics, and I got the feeling I was being watched when I was 12 years old. And I remember looking up and not really fathoming what I saw, but that I thought I had seen myself.
Yeah.
And then like it ended, and that was that. But when that happened, on the other side, when it's, I think, how old was I? Like 33 years old, looking out that window, tripping on DMT, seeing myself. It kind of created that weird little time loop thing where it's like, wait, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
So you kind of, you kind of incepted yourself, or I guess you kind of, what's that movie, Interstellar? If anyone's on the air who hasn't seen the end of Interstellar, maybe turn down your your cell phone right now, because I'm going to kind of give away a little bit of the end. But you've seen the movie Interstellar, Dale?
Yes.
Okay, and you know how kind of at the end when McConaughey is going through the little black hole, and he ends up being the, I guess you could call it like the little spirit behind the bookcase, and is pushing down the books to spell like a message to his kid or something? I might be misremembering this movie a little bit.
Exactly, yeah.
That was you, essentially?
That's very close. I didn't have the fancy falling through a black hole or any of that stuff, but yeah, it was kind of very similar to that, except I saw myself, in the past and in the present at the time.
Yeah.
And I questioned it. I questioned it in the moment, and I asked, like, wait, what does that mean? Like, all my decisions from age 12 to 33 leads to this. Like, so this was meant to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
So what does that mean with free will? And it answers my question. And it says, some people have more free will than others. And some people it's mostly fate. And that was that.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that story. I mean, I didn't mean to hijack it and kind of try to connect it with a Hollywood major blockbuster film, Interstellar, but you were essentially McConaughey on DMT on that situation. So, good on you for following your dreams. So we got a few more minutes here on the broadcast. So I do want to kind of ask you one more kind of quick question that kind of circles around to the idea of the occult and UFOs. And I know we really only, maybe if you can condense your answer down to maybe like a minute or a minute and a half if you can. But there's a lot of kind of theories in the UFO community that potentially UFOs are they're not what they seem to be. They're not just visitors from a distant galaxy, a distant planet. They're potentially from other dimensions, or they're potentially like spirits, like angels and demons, or essentially extraterrestrials in some way. And so with your kind of background in kind of looking into the idea of demonology, how do you kind of feel with that kind of line of thinking that potentially UFOs aren't just, some distant, creature from a different planet that just is visiting us to see what's going on, but potentially they're all around us in other dimensions, and that they're actually demons?
I have heard that theory, and I definitely think that is a very possible reality. I would say I am less scared of the guy from another planet than of a extra dimensional being pretending to be something that's not. To what end?
Yeah.
You explained the abductions, like that. To me, that's just beyond frightening.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not the case, but it seems that is a very stark possibility. Oh
yeah, I've definitely flip-flopped on that in my brain, and I really hope that the answer is not that they're just spiritual beings kind of all around us and kind of just visit us whenever they want, despite our objections or our wishes. And there have been stories of people saying that in a abduction scenario, if they call out the name of Jesus or in some way, that the extraterrestrial kind of take that as a cue that, like, oh, I better disappear out of here. A lot of this is in scenarios where the people are potentially in dream states and kind of, you don't really know where they're coming from, but that is also kind of a theory. So the idea of them being demons may not be that far off, but also I really hope that's not the case. So we'll see where this kind of thing goes. Man. What's that?
I'll take the spaceman over the demon any day.
All right. Well, let's cross our fingers that we got a bunch of space people out there and not interdimensional demons kind of picking at us when we're asleep. Anyway, so we're here at the end of the show. So Dale, I want to thank you for coming on the air and having this little conversation with me. And I'm hoping that the listeners they got a little out of this conversation when it comes to sort of just hearing somebody who has been kind of waist deep, if not deeper, into the lakes of the occult and these kind of hidden practices and these kind of hush-hush kind of things. So, Dale, I want to thank you again for jumping on the air with me, for talking with me, and I hope that you continue down the path that you're supposed to be on.
It sounds good. It was good speaking with you, sir.
All right. Goodbye, Dale. Bye-bye. anyways, that was Dale, a good friend. I'm always happy to talk to my good friend Dale over here, and especially about his occult kind of upbringing. So I got a few minutes. I just want to look at these chat comments real quick. Eggs and Eyes. Dale was McCona. Hey. Yes, he was. Little Bloodweiser. Is that what Tom DeLonge found out that made him scared of UFOs? If anyone doesn't know what Little Bloodweiser is referring to, Tom DeLonge did an interview, I believe, with The Guardian not that long ago, where he said he was debriefed on something that made him, that he couldn't sleep for 2 or 3 days after hearing this thing. But of course, with a lot of what Tom DeLonge says, he doesn't quite reveal what that thing is immediately, so we don't know what it is, but apparently it was something that was so earth-shattering and mind-shattering to him that he couldn't sleep for days. So maybe we'll find out what that is. And Jazzy Boho, Twin Peaks feels like it plays with the connection between aliens and demons. Very interesting theory there, Jazzy Boho. I'll have to go back and rewatch Twin Peaks with that in mind. Anyway, that is the show for tonight. Please tune in from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. over on Downtown Radio 99.1 KDDT Tucson to hear Tarantula's Dream Radio first broadcast tonight. I will be back on Wednesday with another guest talking about the occult, magical practices, and their daily lives. I am your host, Samba. Wear a mask if you go outside, social distance if you can, and remember, it is a weird, weird world. Take care.